The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and it's completed by graduate and undergraduate students and families to determine their financial eligibility. There's three types of eligibility. There's federal, school, and state, and those all three have deadlines, which we'll talk about in a few moments. But this is the biggest pool of financial aid that families can apply for. First, there's the federal deadline. In the federal deadline, you actually have an 18-month cycle or 18-month window. So you're going to begin the FAFSA October 1st, fall semester of your senior year in high school. The second deadline would be your individual state deadline. So you want to visit www.fafsa.ed.gov, the FAFSA website. Simply select your state, and that will determine and give you your state deadline. The third is your college or university deadline. This information will only be given to you by the college, so you can either research their financial aid website, or when students go in for their orientation, they can ask the school, when is the FAFSA deadline? As long as you meet those school and state deadlines when completing the FAFSA, then you can also apply for your individual state scholarships, which you can simply visit your state's website to see what those scholarships are and what those deadlines are. And then each school, each individual school that you apply for will have different grants and scholarships or free money that you will be eligible for. The FSA ID is the most important part when families are thinking about completing the FAFSA. This is basically their electronic signature. The FSA ID can also be used to access all of your federal student loans that you've taken out for your undergraduate and graduate degree by logging into the National Student Loan Data System. Students and parents should keep their FSA ID, their username and password. If they can, memorize it. You really don't want to write it down, because it's going to, if someone could gain access to your FSA ID, they're going to have all of your personal information, not only your name, address, date of birth, but your social security number and your financial information. So it's very, very important not to ever give this information out to anybody and to memorize it. So the FAFSA has become very user-friendly in the last 6 to 8 years, and there's basically 7 sections. So once you log in to the FAFSA using your FSA ID, your username and password, the first section is going to be the student demographics. So basically the student's name, social, date of birth, address, driver's license number. Section 2 of the FAFSA is your school information. And so each student can list up to 10 schools on the FAFSA. The student does not have to be admitted to these schools. Any school that they're interested into, up to 10, they may list. Section 3 determines dependency status for the student. So a student is either determined dependent or independent. If they are determined dependent, then they would include their parents' information on the FAFSA. Independent students would not have to include their parents' information. They would complete the FAFSA on their own. Section 4 is the parents' demographics. So your parents, if your parents are married, both of them would complete their information, name, date of birth, social security number, as well as their address. If your parents are divorced and you're only using one or living with one of your parents, that parent would complete their information. Again, just their demographics, name, address, date of birth, social security number. The next section would be the financial information for both the student as well as the parents. So the student would complete their financial information first, then the parent would go back and complete theirs. The next section after the financial is basically sign and dating. So there will be a disclosure that the U.S. Department of Education asks for each student and parent to read and agree to. Then the student can, again, electronically sign the FAFSA by using their FSA ID, and then the parent would read their disclosure, agree to it, and then sign their FAFSA electronically with their FSA ID. The FAFSA may also be completed by printing it and signing it and mailing it into the U.S. Department of Education, or you can simply print a one-page signature page, sign that, and then send that into the U.S. Department of Education. And that's it. That's it on the FAFSA, 7 sections.